This week, Stephen Newman, Vice President of Product Marketing at Gigamon ThreatINSIGHT, joins us to discuss redefining SaaS security so SOC teams aren't in the dark, or distracted, or alone. In the enterprise security news, Proofpoint unveils people-centric innovations across its three platforms. Citrix Secure Internet Access simplifies hybrid workforce challenges. CyberArk advances industry-leading identity security platforms. AI-powered cybersecurity provider ExtraHop to be acquired for $900 million. New Israeli unicorn Exabeam hits the $2.4 billion valuation mark. Microsoft acquires Refirm Labs to boost its IoT security offerings, and more. In our last segment, we have two pre-recorded interviews from RSA Conference 2021, airing back-to-back, featuring Kevin Gallagher, Chief Revenue Officer at NetSparker. Then Michael Daniel, the President and CEO of Cyber Threat Alliance, is on the second interview. Stay tuned for all that and more on this episode of Enterprise Security Weekly. This is Security Weekly, for security professionals, by security professionals. Broadcasting live from G-Unit Studios in Rhode Island, it's the show where we talk security vendors and aren't afraid to name names. It's Enterprise Security Weekly. The hybrid workforce is here to stay, and it requires real-time visibility, control, and rapid response of every endpoint, whether it's in the office or home. Tanium offers an endpoint management and security platform built for the most demanding IT environments. Many of the world's largest and most sophisticated organizations, including nearly half of the Fortune 100, rely on Tanium to deliver unmatched endpoint visibility and control. Whether you're preparing for zero trust or protecting your network from supply chain risk, Tanium empowers technology leaders to achieve greater agility, efficiency, and confidence. Learn more at securityweekly.com/Tanium. Today's connected world leaves no room for errors. Neustar reliably secures those connections. Neustar's cloud solutions, which include web application security, DDoS protection, DNS services, IP geolocation, and threat intelligence, ensure network availability across the globe. With over 20 years of award-winning security experience, Neustar proudly enables and protects digital assets of some of the world's largest enterprises. Find out how your company can benefit from the power of Neustar's trusted connection by visiting securityweekly.com/Neustar. Secure your world with Neustar. Always on, ultra secure. Searching for the best way to protect passwords and privileged accounts? ThreatINSIGHT empowers security and IT operation teams to discover, secure, and manage all types of privileged accounts with the fastest time to value of any privileged access management solution. Get up and running fast with solutions for privileged account discovery, turnkey installation, automation, auditing, and reporting tools with ThreatINSIGHT's free 30-day trial. ThreatINSIGHT, the fastest growing PAM provider in the market, available both on-premise and in the cloud. Get started today with a free ThreatINSIGHT secret server trial at securityweekly.com/ThreatINSIGHT. Welcome to episode 230 of Enterprise Security Weekly for June 9th, 2021. I'm your host, Paul Asadorian, joined remotely by Mr. Adrian Sanabria. Adrian, welcome.
Hey, Paul. Thank you.
Nice.
And we this weekend had one of the craziest F1 races I've ever seen, and today's news I think is going to be just as, maybe not just as, but pretty jaw-dropping.
There's a lot of news to talk about. Good stuff. Mr. Tyler Shields is here to help us during this show with the news and other things. Tyler, welcome.
Thank you so much. Down with Max Verstappen. No more. That's my F1 comment.
Oh, it's going to be like that, huh?
It is going to be like that. Down with Max Verstappen. Anyways, should be a wonderful show this week.
If you want to stay in the loop, all things Security Weekly, subscribe to all of our shows on the network. You can visit securityweekly.com/subscribe. You can use your favorite podcast catcher. You can sign up for or subscribe to our YouTube channel, sign up for our mailing list, join our Discord server, and follow us on our newest live streaming platform. That's right, we are on Twitch. Security Weekly is ecstatic to announce Security Weekly Unlocked, which will be held in person on December 5th through the 8th at the Hilton Lake Buena Vista. Call for presentations and early registration for Security Weekly listeners is open now. If you go to securityweekly.com/unlocked, submit your presentation and register early for the early bird special, as it were. as that will expire at some point in the near future. I do have to say, I think we have one of the most innovative conference designs. We got together as a team and designed a conference the way that we would design a conference, having gone to a lot of other security conferences. Like, I like to think we took the best of everything that we liked from all those conferences and just baked it right into a live event this year that will be live for Security Weekly Unlocked, which was virtual last year. So there'll be what we're calling communities. You may see them referred to as villages in other conferences. There will be 6 of those along with a main stage, and it'll be very much a community-focused event, taking that hallway con and basically making a conference out of it. So I'm super, super excited. I think the communities are listed on the site too. I think we finalized that list. And you should see leaders for each of those communities be posted soon.
You had to wait a whole extra year to be able to do that too.
We did. It's going to be nice to be in person. So
yeah, just not the same on Discord, though we love Discord.
Right. This segment is sponsored by Gigamon. You can visit securityweekly.com/Gigamon. Step ahead with Gigamon Threat Insight and learn more at securityweekly.com/Gigamon. Joining us from Gigamon is Stephen Newman, who has over 15 years of product management and product marketing experience in the field of cybersecurity, ranging from VPNs, email security, advanced threats, identity-based security, and cloud-native network detection and response. He joins us today to talk about freeing the SOC team from distractions and helping them focus on what matters most. Stephen, welcome to the show.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you on today, Stephen. And I'm kind of enamored with this approach, because we talk about NDR, we talk about SaaS, we talk about managed services, and actually kind of similar to our conference, right? You've kind of taken the best of all of those worlds and rolled it into a product that you're calling, if I get this right, Gigamon ThreatINSIGHT.
Well, ThreatINSIGHT is the product name. It's really about how we're offering it, which we refer to as guided SaaS. So it's ThreatINSIGHT Guided-SaaS NDR.
Gotcha. Guided SaaS was the term I was looking for.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, NDR by itself is just a really powerful addition to a SOC. You know, it really balances the kind of the gaps left from EDR and SIMs when you're trying to find attackers. The key, though, is really about, well, how is the actual solution delivered? You've seen a lot around, you know, a transition to SaaS, which helps on obviously not having to manage the software part of it, right? It's hosted, it's managed by a particular provider. But it kind of falls short when you talk and think about the things that the SOC and IR teams themselves have to battle alongside using the NDR, right? So it's about having empathy, I think, in many ways, about what the SOC and IR teams have to go through, whether that's being able to have the visibility they need, or if they're in the dark, whether or not that's having access to help when they're in the middle of a key security incident, or if they're just distracted because they're having to do a month-long of detection tuning up front. Those things are really challenging for them. And we've been able to deliver our NDR in a way that removes all of those challenges. Probably the most important thing is, you know, we staff our customer success teams fully with expert field tested incident responders and security analysts. So they're not just account managers, right? Their focus is they've been in that same seat as a customer. And that's what really differentiates the service, or this solution, I should say.
Yeah, because I think, you know, it strikes a balance, right? I don't necessarily want to build everything myself, which is the other like extreme, right? I mean, I could go so far as to say you could take some open source software and start building it all yourself. That's a tremendous amount of work. And I think for some solutions, you may choose to go down that route if you require that level of control and granularity. You know, then as you kind of move up the stack, there's the more SaaS-based approach and product-based approaches as well, which still come with a lot of responsibility on the owner of that software. Then, like, your next step typically is, well, I'm just going to outsource it, and I'm going to use an MSSP, and they're going to run and manage it. And I think, Stephen, what you and Gigamon have created is like this happy middle ground where I don't have to build the technology myself or piece it together, but I don't have to give up 100% or close to 100% of control of for my SOC team to someone else?
Yeah, I mean, look, all the different ways that you can deploy security solutions and deliver them they all have the pros and cons, right? And every organization is different. When you refer to like the last piece you referred to, an MSSP, that's great because like all the care and feeding out of your hands, right? You just are able to receive the information that they call you up with. The challenges with that though is they typically come fairly generic in what they deliver. They're typically generic in what their remediation guidance. Of course, they do get to see threats across a bigger span of clients, so that's helpful. But their solutions aren't really customized for your own network and your own deployment. Versus a SaaS or on-premise NDR, both kind of get customized for your network, but then you're kind of alone, right? You have to do all the detection tuning, which is an interesting study last year from Panama that showed that security analysts, 84% of them felt that minimization of false positives and doing detection tuning was their most important SOC activity. And that's really not what we want our SOC and IR teams doing. So, there must be that middle ground where all of those distractions are taken away and that you have access to experts when you've got your back against the wall.
Yeah, I think, reaching out to someone that can help is oftentimes the missing component, right? Like if my entire team is working on something, even a regular basis, we only have each other. Being able to reach out to someone else and go like, can you just save me the hour or whatever block of time it is to validate this? Like if you guys validated that for someone else, like is it real or is it not? And helping in that, like ignoring alerts kind of thing is important.
Yeah, I mean, Paul and I have worked for a lot of advisory services, and that's a lot of what you get is what are our peers doing? Are we doing this right? Is this how others do it? Are we crazy? They just need someone to look over what they're doing and say, well, no, there's actually an easier way. You could cut out these 5 steps, or no, the way you're doing is exactly how everybody else is doing it.
Well, we know that, when there is an active incident and your back's against the wall, you're racing like crazy, you're trying to collect information and data, it's a really high pressure situation at that point. So the intent of guided SaaS is not to manage all the alerts for you. That's not what we're doing. But exactly what you said, when there is something that comes in, having someone that first is a security incident responder that is knowledgeable, right? It's not just a random phone call. It's someone that has been in your seat. Call them up and say, okay, first off, what do you know about this threat actor, this adversary? What are their techniques, procedures? What do I need to be looking for? Right? Getting some external viewpoints on that based from Gigamon SOC IR and their applied threat research team is incredibly valuable. But also, so many times we only think of the alert side of NDR, the response side, the being able to triage, the ability to investigate, understand all of the activities that the actor has done inside your network. That's a lot of work to do. And if you have someone that's there that can say, based on this threat and their tactics, techniques, here would be guidance on how you could carry out an investigation. Here would be steps you can do to either immediately triage or look for these things to be comfortable with the triage. And here are the things that you can go do from a best practice perspective, armed with the threat knowledge of how to go and investigate. That can take off an immense amount of time and make sure that you don't feel alone, right? You're not second guessing yourself. You know exactly what you need to go do.
Yeah. Go ahead, Adrian.
I've got to say, I love the idea of guided SaaS because I've been saying for quite a while, and it's what a lot of the design behind the product reviews we do with Security Weekly Labs are kind of focused on this piece where, and I even founded a company specifically to go after this gap that we perceived between products and services companies where, the products company would sell it. You'd get a SIM or NDR product or IDS product or something like that, and pretty much good luck. I mean, you've got support on one hand, and maybe there's some training you can pay for. You can go get some training on the product. But other than that, it's pretty much on you to get value out of the product, to figure out how to do that on your own. And then on the services side, they come in, they tell you, hey, you're missing stuff. We were able to do this in a pen test or whatever it might be. This is stuff that you should be catching, and there's that gap in between where, I think with a lot of these products, what companies have really been needing is not just a product, not just a pen test, but somebody to help them, use those products better.
Exactly. It's about being proficient in the product, and that way you can extract the most out of it. So the way the guided SaaS works on that part is those same SOC IR specialists that are there to answer your phone call and if you have an active incident, they're the ones that are helping you not only initially get enabled on the solution, but with every release, they're working with your teams, making sure they know the new capabilities and the new features. We see this a lot in security teams where, frankly, there's new personnel that come in and they don't have the same background and they maybe haven't worked in this product. Well, those same SOC IR teams that we call technical success managers, they're working to constantly provide that enablement to new team members as well. So it's not just a one and done, it's a continued effort. It's something that helps them make sure they're getting the most out of the solution. And at the same time, they're passing on best practices. Hey, this is how you might use the product to maximize what you all are trying to do as your SOC is designed, right? So it is that middle ground. It's not an additional fee, right? This is part of the solution. So it's not like you have to worry every time it's another professional services fee. That's not the way this works. This is all rolled in together as part of the solution. I was listening, just the kind of mantra or the statement you make at Security Weekly. It says, for security professionals, by security professionals. We have our own mantra that we always said that the ThreatINSIGHT was built for responders by responders. And that's because our entire team really comes from being either security analysts, incident responders, threat researchers. And we build the product and we build the offering, not just the technology, because the technology does a lot along this front too, to help guide the customers, but the whole solution as a whole to kind of fill that gap that you're talking about.
Tyler?
It's really interesting that I think the primary point of what you've built from a technology perspective is to help fill the gap on a lack of human resources or the lack of ability to have extremely experienced human resources. But you didn't just do it and saying, here's the tool and some processes, let's run. You actually built it and saying, let's cross-train, let's educate, let's do all of the soft skills so that when you're bringing new people on, they're brought up to speed quickly. All of that stuff is actually linked into the service, which makes it such a stronger holistic view.
Absolutely. And then I think the last thing that's really critical is that, so many of our, we see so many SOC and IR teams just always being distracted, right? You've got, I think there was that same report, right? 43% of SOC analysts indicated that maintaining the solutions, tuning them, providing updates, doing the detection tuning, those ongoing things are like one of their highest, most important priorities. I think that's just a shame, right? Vendors develop solutions and then put all the responsibility back on the end client. Same thing for that 84% of the analysts saying that, minimization of false positives. Vendors need to do better. We can't put those pressures and those distractions on the client. So what we do in ThreatINSIGHT, as all of the machine learning, behavioral analysis techniques, threat intelligence components, all those pieces that are part of our solution, all that analysis is being run in the cloud, right, on our client's network metadata. So because it's being run in the cloud, our applied threat research team actually does all the detection tuning. So customers aren't doing that 4 weeks up front and then monthly ongoing detection tuning. Our team is QAing those systems. Our team is making sure that they're generating high true positive based detections, removing all of those, as well as removing the care and feeding of the typical things like, software updates and sensor visibility health, removing that from the customer so the customer can really focus on their job of identifying adversaries and responding. So we take that all away. There's none of that for the customers, and we think that's part of guided SaaS as well.
Do you guys actually do a metadata kind of network effect so that the more users you bring onto your system, the stronger all detections get for all users because you're able to do cross-user correlations and things like that?
So from an individual client perspective, obviously, we extract the network metadata from any and all of the users, layers 2 through 7. and all those elements. And we run our machine learning techniques, behavioral analysis techniques. We have a lot of them that run individually on an individual client basis, but we do a crowdsourced ability that we, obviously it's not like all the data is, we have user information about all the data, but we bring all of the data together collectively across all of our clients so that we have techniques that are analyzing the holistic crowdsourced view to identify emerging threats, right? New threats that maybe you wouldn't be able to pick up, and the nuance of the small amount of data that you might get on an individual client.
One thing, Stephen, that you mentioned I thought was important, having worked for a vendor in the security space, is you'll put out new features to satisfy your customer requirements, right? You've got a background in product management, so you know that struggle. The struggle on the other side of that is evangelizing that to your customers who may not realize it. So I think having ThreatINSIGHT with the guided SaaS is one huge benefit. Another one I think we should highlight is using that team to learn about and how to use new features. I used to put out videos like, hey, we came up with this new feature. Like, it was based on problems we have in security today and stuff you're asking for, but teams are busy, so they may not see it. So having some guided help in that is huge, because you may have this long manual process or use a different tool to accomplish a task and go, oh, now I can do that. That's awesome. That saves me time. Right.
Well, a lot of times what the TSMs will do is they'll kind of walk the clients through on their own data and their own network how the new features are working and what they can do with it. So it becomes tangible to them because it's on their own information, right? Their own data, their own networks. And so that's really powerful with each new release. So they get to see it live.
Yeah, that's really awesome. And I think it is something that's been missing, with a lot of these products, any kind of product that results in alerts and things like that, without some kind of guidance, without some kind of framework there, I've often described it as haystack as a service. You didn't have the alerts before, and somebody just backed up a truck and just dropped it on you. And it's more like needles than a haystack, because oftentimes what happens is you get a bunch of stuff rated as critical that isn't necessarily critical, and part of the challenge there is what I call the customization tax. You can only build a product to a certain point, and when you sell it to a customer, they're going to have to make it work in their environment. They're going to have to make changes to it, configure it, tune it for their particular environment. It's very difficult to make a product that works, just out of the box. It's amazing in every single environment, unless you have a very good idea beforehand of what all that's going to look like, right?
Right. I mean, you take an 80-20 rule, but you're right. Every client is different. And therefore, certainly, would you build a product? If you were to build a product for just your environment, would you build it the same way that you'd build it for everyone's customers' environments? Of course not, right? You would customize it exactly to what your particular environment means. The benefit of guided SaaS, though, is obviously in a solution like ThreatINSIGHT, cloud-based products, right? Everything is API-based, and you have these experts that know how to customize the product, how to build, interact with the APIs. So as we work with clients and they need certain customizations, like with that, to make it work within their organization, our our TSMs, technical success managers, will help either do it or assist the customers in kind of making those adjustments, right? Making it a little bit more customized for their environment. And that's really powerful for our customers, right? I wouldn't say you get 100% of the way that you'd want, if you were to build it individually just for one network, but you're getting a lot closer. You're getting in the 95 to 98. It's exactly customized for your environment, which even with standard SaaS or on-premise NDR, you're just not going to get there otherwise. At least not without a lot of professional services fees.
Well, I think it also helps validate or invalidate alerts as well, that you're making that decision earlier on in the process. Is this a threat or not? And having someone to go to that maybe has seen that before, to go, well, if you see this like other stuff, it's probably a threat. If you don't, it's probably just some benign protocol that I haven't seen yet. And you just saved me hours of time of going to looking at the packet captures, reverse engineering the binaries and all that stuff of that validation process. So that augmentation, I think, is super helpful for teams to be more efficient.
Well, we've talked a lot about the human expertise we bring with guided SaaS, these SOC analysts and incident responders that can help out. But as I said, we're built by responders for responders. So even in the technology itself, for virtually every detection, there is a guide. It's actually called Guided Next Steps. It's what we pulled the name for this whole thing, which says, based on this threat, you should be looking at for this thing, this thing, this thing, and this thing to triage and validate it. If you find and then you validate it, right now, here's what we'd recommend to carry out your incident response plan. What should you go and investigate so that you can make an informed response plan. So I think, it's a combination of both technology and people that are really trying to think about putting themselves in the shoes of the customer and really doing. NDR has the concepts of NDR as an important component in your technology stack, but it's about having the product think about how it's going to be used. It's about having the offering with the people that are servicing it for our clients, and what they're having to deal with.
And that's super helpful in that, like, you may not always have the answer, or the person may not want that answer, right? But you just want to make sure you're going down the right path. And that's what you just described. Is SOC teams now can be a lot more confident they're going down the right path. And whether I'm writing software, doing a pen test, or troubleshooting something, my fear is always that I'm going to spend too much time going down the wrong path. And I'll actually go to my experts and my friends who are experts in that area and go, hey, like, when I write this Python code, I don't want you to tell me how to write it because I need to learn, but, like, am I going down the right path? Like, is this the right library? Is this the right approach? And have them validate it. It's like you're doing that for SOC teams, which is just a huge time saver.
Well, it's not only a time saver, which you're exactly right, but think of the pressure that it takes off the SOC analyst to know that they're going down the right path.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, we know about
confidence,
SOC burnout, right? I mean, it's a high pressure environment. As CISOs are looking at, like, how do I retain staff? How do I make sure that I'm ready for the big event and have the preparedness, knowing that they have the access to either in the technology or the people to make sure they're on the right path is huge.
Yeah. And if you're ever looking at, network stuff, NDR, results or alerts, that you all of a sudden now, after an investigation, are an expert on this bizarre protocol that, at the end of the day, the worst feeling is, wow, that really has no security implications right now. Like, good to know for the future, but I just learned a whole bunch about, this weird protocol or anomaly that is not a security event. And now, did I miss a security event while I was doing all of that investigation? That's always my concern for SOC.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So another important impact here that I feel like should be specifically called out from this guided SaaS approach that I like is, a lot of security teams, it's easy owning all these products to fall down this hole of, as you call out, all these distractions, spending all this time tuning things, tweaking knobs and dials. And it's easy to fall into a place where you start to think that is your job, and all of a sudden what should be a security team turns into really an IT ops team for security products. And nobody's actually doing security. Everyone's just managing these products. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why I call it out, right? I just, as a security community, being a vendor, we have to do better to put that weight, to put those requirements on our clients when that's not why they bought the technology in the first place, right? They buy technology so that it can help them find, in this case, help them find threats faster, but it's supposed to help springboard their effectiveness and efficiency. But if you take one step forward, two steps back, because you're spending all your time doing detection tuning or care and feeding, is it really a benefit? Right? So that's the key here, right? How do we eliminate those pieces so people don't get caught up in thinking that their entire job is about keeping the systems running, and it's really about hunting adversaries.
Agreed. Stephen, any closing thoughts on the service?
I think the way best to think about it is it's a blend of technology, it's a blend of management, right, from the care and feeding perspective, and it's a blend of people, all working to remove those distractions, making sure our clients, frankly, aren't in the dark, and then have access, that they're not alone when they're in those high pressure environments. So that's what we've designed it to. It's been something we've been delivering to our clients for several years now. We just kind of been able to pull it together into something cohesive, build out our teams even stronger to be able to deliver this guided SaaS offering to all of our NDR customers.
Fantastic. Stephen, thank you so much for appearing on Enterprise Security Weekly.
Thanks to the three of you. Thank you so much.
For folks who want to learn more, you can visit securityweekly.com/Gigamon. The Enterprise Security News is coming up next. Stick around.